All right. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast, episode 94. I am your host, Supreme King, and as always, joined with me is my co-host, and his name is...
It's your guy Omazis.
How's he doing today, man? Was it hot?
Man, this pollen is messing my asthma up.
Pollen? Oh, man.
Yeah, we have a high pollen in the area, so like breathing has been a pain. So if I randomly mute, it's because I'm on a small coughing fit. So it's just a heads up.
I was a little hot earlier. I was kind of a little sweaty at one point, but after that it was probably pretty much okay. We had some high 70s, really low 80s weather for a split second. I think it peaked at like 80 or 81 maybe. I just know at that moment it was like I had to wipe my forehead a couple times, But
counting the days till fall.
Counting the days till fall. You got a long ways, man. We in the beginning of it. I don't know. Is it officially summer yet? When do they say it's officially summer? Like, I don't know. On paper, I know it's like, because we ain't even towards Memorial Day. You talking about, what, a couple weeks out? Memorial Day is when everybody barbecue outside and everything, right? So there's that. June. I just know with it having some hot days now, June and July is going to probably have some really decent heat waves. So I had already ordered some, short sleeve shirts and everything. But
I'm going to be suffering.
Anyways, gaming podcast, enough of the weather. I think our agenda is a little small, but I have a couple things. Funny enough, though, I think we probably could jump into one of the hottest topics right now because I want to talk about because I think it's hilarious. And I think I don't want to say people are overreacting because I'm kind of on their side a little bit, but I just don't take it as serious. I'm talking about Assassin's Creed Shadow.
Yeah.
They had so Ubisoft dropped the trailer, and honestly, if it wasn't for the issue with the black samurai, like if when he first revealed himself he was Japanese, I think everything else probably would have went smoothly. I think because the trailer itself,
woman protagonist.
Yeah, because I think it wouldn't have mattered because it would have looked more like a Bonnie and Clyde thing to some people.
Some people are complaining that like women wouldn't have done that in feudal Japan. Is what
yeah.
So
probably, it's probably true.
Well, you probably right. It's like it's a Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan, and the protagonists are an Asian woman and a black guy. Right, like so people are just right away like it's moat and things like that. I actually can see the other side of it.
I would be honest though, like I understand what people are like thinking because it kind of is like a roll your eye moment because you know what it kind of means. It's just, I don't really. I'm not putting that much weight into the game though. Like I'm not like I might play it, but I'm not really like, it's almost like Stellar Blade. It's like the opposite of Stellar Blade. So like with Stellar Blade, a lot of people wanted to play with it because the girl was just half naked. And it's like, I'll probably want to play it, the full game, not the demo. I played the demo. Demo was fine. But the full game, I'll get around to it, but I don't have that much weight into it. Like, it wasn't an anticipated game for me. It's just like one of those games. Where this game is kind of the same thing where it's just like, hopefully as a game is good. There's been enough Assassin's Creeds at this point where I think you're gonna know what you're getting to an extent. It's just now we're in that territory again where we're just trying to like, hit a bunch of like check marks.
Now here's the thing: if we want to play what's the phrase, devil's advocate on this, right? Which I know it's Ubisoft, so it is probably a checkmark situation.
Yeah.
Knowing that, where you can argue against checkmark situation. One, Yasuke is a real person. Like he's actually about to get his own video game, also called Yasuke: The Lost Descendant, that's coming out soon. Okay. The black guy, he is the first non-Asian person to be like given samurai status. Like this is a real thing, a real person. This actually happened in history. Now, he wasn't like, I don't think he was going around just like murdering people. Like he was a servant. Like he was a slave for somebody. Now this is doing a very, very quick history research. So I haven't really looked into this guy. I will when I start my own channel. But as a very quick search, he was just a servant. Like when they were doing the slave trade, he got sent over to Asia instead. And serving for a guy, and eventually either at the old age or when the guy passed away or something like that, he somehow eventually just got, like the way how in England they knight people. So like you get music celebrities who are knighted and everything, and like they're Sir, like, or like Sir Patrick Stewart, right? Or Sir Elton John. Well, he was samurai status.
Yeah.
But of course, all people hear
or
is,
like,
black samurai, so that they make up fantasy like situations.
from what I've seen though, he wasn't samurai status though, right? Isn't that what people were saying?
No, they were saying he was a servant. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he was samurai status. He is on record. He's the first non-Asian to be samurai status, and it just happened to be an African guy.
Okay.
And like, there's images they depicted. It's like written down and in old art and things like that. Like it is it is real that he was the first one. It's just all the like.
I don't know their rankings though, but I think they gave him another name though. I forgot what it was. I had just looked at it for this, but I forgot the name of it.
Well, I did too, and I know that, but I also knew from him from before when I looked it up. But yeah, he's a samurai. Like,
but I think what it is though, I think for the people though, they were just looking at it at face value, right?
Right.
So
like on top of that, so like he's a samurai. Like people just thought it was just, again, you found a way to just have a black guy in there.
Yeah.
And this. Now here's the other thing though.
It should have been Brad Pitt.
But here's the other thing. Oh, so I have 2 points on that too. So here's the thing. So one.
Would people be more acceptable if it was? I don't know.
But so here's the thing.
Go ahead.
One, the Assassin's Creed, if you, like, from the little bits that I've played, like playing through Assassin's Creed 3 and a little bit of the other ones, a lot of the Assassin and Templar stuff is all centered around Europe, right? So there would be no reason for the Assassins or Templars to be in Japan unless someone brought it there. They're probably using the first recorded person that had to be stuck in Japan as a servant, Yusuke, to be the reason probably the Templars were moved over there. Like him recruiting more assassins and stuff like that, right? Like there's a story that you can work into it for a reason why it's specifically him. With nobody expecting the servant to be like part of the assassin crew and things like that. So it makes sense there. Now, my other thing is this, where people are just like woke because it's black and Asian. No one said this with Neo. And Neo 2 is a British white guy who was a samurai.
You talking about the Souls game. When you said Neo, the first thing I thought of was Matrix. My bad.
Oh, no. The Souls game, Neo and Neo 2. Right?
Okay.
The more popular samurai game. That was a British white guy. Like, when they were like, we're making a samurai game, the protagonist was white. And no one said anything. Then, after that, now we have Ghost of Tsushima, Asian male protagonist, Rise of the Ronin, Asian male protagonist, and then Assassin's Creed Shadow, a real historical black guy who was a samurai, and Asian woman protagonist.
I think what it is, though, I think the people, when they first saw it, like, if anything, the idea was everybody did their research after the fact, right? It's when they first saw it, I think the energy was very similar to a movie that everybody may have heard of called The Little Mermaid.
Well, yeah, I get it. I get that. But, again, playing from, like, the devil's advocate sort of thing, it's, if anything, doing this with those two as a protagonist, make sure their game isn't just directly compared to Ghost of Tsushima or Rise of the Ronin. Because right away, to be like, which samurai should you play as? And if their game isn't as good as the other two, everyone's gonna be like, "Don't play it. If you want a samurai experience, play these other ones." Right? And it was just like, so again, there was no arguments for Neo. Why should there be arguments necessarily here if it's played correctly? And again, this is as a person who constantly complains about race swapping in movies and especially superhero cinema, and things like that. Like, as you know, I am a big proponent against it and stuff like that. Like, I don't think this should be an issue. And what it also kind of makes me think of is how much the forced wokeness that's happened over the years has ruined stuff. So I was thinking about this with X-Men, funny enough. It's like a slight tangent that
the Netflix
just overall, just like Giancarlo, that one actor, Giancarlo Esposito, the dude. Yeah, he said that at one point he said he wanted to play Professor X.
Yeah.
Acting wise, I think he would make an amazing professor.
Acting wise, yeah.
However, because of the constant like force wokeness stuff, this would just get classified as that. Where it's not an actor who would kill it and like this is probably the guy for the role and it can be really well done and we could just overlook this one small thing because he is a fantastic actor. It's, well, nope, they're doing another woke thing. And it's because of how much wokeness ruins stuff. So where this game could also be where they crafted a story to reasonably have assassin and Templar and whatever, like all of their stuff come over to feudal Japan, have a reasonable protagonist. They like to use actual historical figures, so using another historical figure that's known about and everything where they could have, like, that could have been the intention, it's immediately just classified as woke. And I don't think that's necessarily fair.
Well, the biggest problem, though, is at the end of the day, Ubisoft would want to make money, right? Like, I think every company does. But with society right now, it's almost like Russian roulette when it comes to this kind of thing. Because we've seen it now get destroyed in the media. And I think for me, I just think it was probably a dumb move just coming off of looking at just the optics of what happened with The Little Mermaid. Because right now, that industry, the gaming industry, are in a position where it's so fragile that if the game doesn't work, that means everybody gets fired. And to risk it for that part, like for that type of thing, I think probably was a bad idea because they have to be self-aware of just society right now. If society is ignorant, then they're just ignorant, but that's just the majority at the moment.
Well, I also don't think that's also fair because let's also look at Assassin's Creed, right? Like, they had European white protagonists pretty much all the way throughout. They had the one Native American for Assassin's Creed 3, then the black girl for the DLC, or for Assassin's Creed 4. That still had white protagonists, and then the only other time they had like the woman protagonist was when you could choose between the guy or the woman for the Greek one with the Spartans, and then the Viking one was back to a white guy. Like, and like again, no one's like batting an eye, but then the moment you try and not do that, then all of a sudden it's woke. And again, it's like I think the issue is trying to pick out which things were made to be forcefully like woke. As a woke decision, and then which things is just trying to be something creative or something different, or just doing something we don't know what their story is.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing: is this game going to be dead on arrival, or is it going to actually make some money?
I feel like Assassin's Creed 3 or Assassin's Creed fans who like Assassin's Creed is going to get it anyways. I think the people who are calling it out don't even really play Assassin's Creed games to begin with.
Yeah, but is there going to be like this, like almost like a YouTuber influencer kind of thing where the millions of subscribers is going to jump on it, you know, for their like how to come up for their views or whatever, but then they paint this sort of thing that's going to be negative.
Every single article that I've been seeing on my Twitter lately,
yeah, they're already doing it, right?
Like every article has just been, did you know Yasuke was a real person? Like, trying to come off as like an interesting, like, here's a fun tidbit. This is a real person. But I don't know. It bothers me because I do like it when they use real people.
Yeah.
That's why I like Assassin's Creed 3. It's the American Revolution, and like majority of the people are all actual historical figures. And then even in this game, the whole thing that they were touting is this is the first time you play as the historical figure instead of just them being in the story.
I just kind of feel like I think it wouldn't have been a good idea to be the ones to try to like maybe break a stereotype or deviate right now when you're in an industry that's so fragile. That this is supposed to come out I wrote it down 11/15/2024, right? So just before Black Friday this year. And this year has been the year of, if this game doesn't work in a month or two, well, we got to cut the studios in half, right?
But if they went with the obvious of just Asian protagonists, a different person in feudal Japan, and things like that, I feel like it would have immediately been compared to Rise of Ronin and Ghost of Tsushima, and already Rise of Ronin is failing because they said it's not as good as Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
No one's looking at it as its own thing, as a samurai game that did its own stuff. It's just, how does it compare to the other samurai games?
I will say this probably is getting more traction for the race thing or the woke thing.
Is so stupid.
But honestly, outside of that, it was just a CGI trailer. We actually didn't see anything. We would only go off of like, well, it would be close enough to one of the recent ones, maybe Valhalla or Mirage. But
I already feel like it's not going to be great because didn't they already say this one was going to be all live service?
Probably. The live service is not going to help it. It's not going to help it, but
the Persian one is the one. But that, I feel like also what they're going to do, and for this is now the cynicism side of it, is no one's going to want to play this because of the live service. And I bet the live service stuff is going to be really predatory and bad. And then when everyone refuses to play it, they're going to blame it on race.
I'm gonna be honest for myself. It's not that I want to play. It's just like I think I would definitely play it at some point. Not even waiting for it to be on one of the services. It's like I would probably play it at some point. It probably would be a wait for a sale for me, to be honest. But I do have to say for myself, when I see it, there is like, for me, it wasn't like an outrage or anything. It to me, it gave me a little bit of tongue in cheek humor.
Again,
it just did.
To clarify, so two things. One, I'm probably not going to play it.
Okay.
So for the Assassin's Creed game, I was never really a big Assassin's Creed fan. And the only one that I've played through, and I'm like near the end of it, and it was the only one I liked, was Assassin's Creed 3. And I got that one because I liked the American Revolution.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like, it had to do with the setting that it was not the Assassin's Creed part. In fact, I hate the parts in the game when it goes back to like the whatever the guy's name is, Devin or whatever, as it goes back to the future stuff with him. Like, I hate those parts. It's like, just keep me in the past. That's all I want to do. But so that, and then two, when I first saw the trailer and I saw who it was, the first thing I did was chuckle. Like, so I did laugh too. I immediately went there.
I chuckled. Well, a lot of people either chuckled or they rolled their eyes. I think that's probably what happened.
And I did that, but then I was like, wait a minute. And that's when I kind of twisted, like, okay, to play on the other side of it, maybe it wasn't intended. Or like maybe there's a way it could not be intended that way. Unfortunately, it is Ubisoft. It probably was intentional for that way. But arguing that it's not, and then that's when I started thinking about it with seeing. And again, this is me having to just stay out of comment sections. Gotta see how many people just are getting overly mad over it, and that's where I was just like, where there was none. And again, I think Neo is a good game, and it doesn't deserve hate. But it was like there was none of this hate for Neo. Well, it was just a
there's some hate from the Souls community. It's funny enough because shout out to Bloodborne being on the screen. The people who play the From Software games look down on Neo for its quality compared to From Software. There's that for sure.
But they don't look at it for the race thing.
Yeah, I don't really hear too much of that though.
Like the only time there was an issue with the whole samurai thing and the making away protagonist was it Tom Cruise? His movie?
Yeah. That was it's tongue in cheek humor, like because he was the last samurai.
Yeah.
and you know, this guy's not the first, but he's just a samurai.
They should have called this
Um,
game the Assassin's Creed the First Samurai, just to like really upset people.
yeah, I think, but the thing about it is, I think majority of the people did one of the two things. They either chuckled or they rolled their eyes. The people who chuckled are probably going to wait for a sale.
Yep.
The people who rolled their eyes are probably not going to buy this at all. They might go as far as be like, let's just openly boycott, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that
That's
is I don't see a day one buyer in either category.
The only day
And
one buys I see are the people who are Assassin's Creed diehards.
yeah, but the
And
thing
that's
is,
not
even with that, I don't see this doing as good as even Mirage though. And Mirage, I
nah,
think, was like $50. I don't know if this is supposed to be 70. If
probably.
it's 50, if it's 50, it probably will be okay. But people were already a little annoyed with Ubisoft anyway for a lot of other things, with the
Rightfully
ads and
so.
all these other things, right?
Rightfully so.
So it's not going to help their situation, but at the same time, there is a lot of the race swapping in just the culture right now in media, period. So that's not just games. We see way more of it in the movie side, right? And then the TV shows like Velma and a couple other ones, right? So I think the thing that is the bigger thing is there is this like media that assumes that they have to do that, and there's this like massive media somewhere that's like actively revolting against that, and then it's still happening anyway, despite
Yeah.
the fact that the masses is clearly not with a lot of what's going on, like to an alarming rate where you're just like, am I missing something? Are we not able to read the room? And it's like one of those things where it's like at a job or something, like you have like PR where you're going along with something because it's like if you don't, it might hurt your career. But the second you're at home, behind closed doors, you might sing a way different tune. It's like with YouTube in the comment sections with the dislike buttons, because I think this thing got like 2/3 downvotes, right? Out of like I want to say well over 300,000 likes and dislikes. I think it was like 100,000 or 200,000 on the like side and like 300,000 to 400,000 on the dislike side, with like 5 million views right now. Under Ubisoft's page, right? For anybody who has like the dislike reader or whatever. Um,
Yeah. And unfortunately, like I said, I feel like because there's that side that just thinks it needs to be in everything, and then there's that side that's like,
yeah,
you're ruining everything by forcing it in. It now just all it does is ruin the stuff that's just naturally trying to just do it without an agenda.
is this one
Right? By
naturally
being
trying to do
creative.
it though? Is
Could
Assassin's Creed natural?
So again, I would say where part of me is like it's Ubisoft. Of course, they're not actually trying to do it; it's on purpose. Where again, I can see a storyline where this works, and it has to do with the fact that sometimes they like to try and twist actual history. So I can see where it like fits in for using them as the protagonist. Uh, but honestly, I feel like part of this was just to woke points and to not, trying to not get compared to two other samurai games.
Correct me if I'm wrong though. As far as the race thing, like, was it Ubisoft that got heat for this like a year ago or 2 years ago? Wasn't it a game where like it was supposed to be the black pirate on the boat or something? Am I
Skull and
tripping?
Bones?
That it? I think it might have been that.
Was
It was.
Ubisoft Skull and Bones? Oh,
It
they
was.
were, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
it finally
everybody,
came out.
because it was that, and then it was like the microtransactions with it as well. So it's like,
And the fact that it was announced and then like never came out. So
yeah,
like it
so
finally came out, but it was first talked about in like 2013. So
yeah, it was just the package that they showed. People was not feeling that as well, and so all I was saying is like I don't
but
understand
then
why they would want to take the risk to begin with when their industry is so fragile, and somebody like Ubisoft would know that right now.
but now here's another argument though. There's always the whole thing where it's like everyone says don't race swap, right? Make new characters.
Yeah.
And then when they go to make new characters, it's automatically called woke.
Well, it's
Right?
just the
Skull and Bones.
opposite. It's just
It's like they
the
made a pirate game and they just decided, you know what? Rather than trying to say Blackbeard was black or Captain Jack Sparrow is now black, they're like, okay, we're gonna put our own pirate in there and he can be black. And now everyone is like woke. Where it's like, but then if it's like, is just black, or is the black person just not allowed to be a pirate? Or we gotta wait another 10 years to have a black person be a pirate and people aren't thinking woke anymore? Like, when can the black person be the pirate?
there's also the crowd that's probably also saying I'm sick of seeing slaves. I know that I'm probably in that category more than anything, but I'm not taking it that serious. I just know I could see. For me, I'm only looking at it on the business side. I'm like, well, you kind of just saw it with the only example I'm really going with is the Mermaid movie, because that was like Disney's like the biggest example, right? And I'm like, that had to been deep in development at that moment. And it's like, if you were to see that type of backlash, I think with the Mermaid movie, when they showed that trailer, I don't even think it got 5% upvote. I think that bad boy was universally downvoted. As even if the girl was actually the Haley Bailey, even if she was actually, because I always thought she was a decent singer or whatever, right?
Yeah, the director said he heard her sing. It was like, it has to be her.
Yeah, it was just the optics of it. I guess the people probably didn't need, because the thing is, nobody by default is looking into it until after the fact. Right then and there, they saw that they're mad. And you could argue, yes, a lot of them are probably ignorant, because it's probably still, it's the same energy that came from when Disney tried to reintroduce Star Wars or a few other things. It's just that energy is there. I just felt like for the gaming industry, where if you take a bullet for this, that's going to cost you like half of your department's jobs. But I don't see why you would take that choice.
I feel like if they would have just made it a Asian male protagonist, it would have failed anyways.
Probably, or at least like, do at least exam was.
This is their best chance of succeeding.
Now, here's the thing too. We got to see if the game, because they're not going with sex sales, right? Stellar Blade won based off of sex. Let's be honest here. They got to make the gameplay's got to come next. We got to see the gameplay. I'm pretty sure 100% this ain't gonna be no Souls-like. Souls-likes are hot right now, right? So Stellar Blade, it was hard for Stellar Blade to lose. It was still, the gameplay is Souls-like. People were hot on Souls-like because of Elden Ring. And then on top of that, you had a girl with like a crazy body, right? And so that was enough to keep that thing going. It's like Assassin's Creed's not gonna have they didn't do that to that girl. Like if she had the body as well, it probably would have even more ridiculous, but she looked like a regular just chick, right? So the gameplay just gotta be there. And then on top of that, the microtransactions can't be that as crazy as all the other games. Just to see it. But even then, for me, I would play the base game. I would not participate in microtransactions.
It's gonna be microtransactions. I mean, I want to see what their plan is for live service.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that makes sense in this scenario.
We'll see as the story develops. We can probably move on in a second. I do want to mention before this boss is over. This is like one of the first or second bosses in Bloodborne. I want to you're gonna see this footage again at some point, because I'm gonna talk about the game a little bit more in the solo vid. This and other footage that I've used for the other boss, Father Gascoigne, which I unfortunately did not get all the footage for when I beat him, because that was during the time the PS5 was acting up. But I did get this footage from the PS5 version of the game, or at least me playing on the PS5 before it started crashing all over the place. But yeah,
you could be patient at the end there.
I did a little bit, but I managed to do it, you know. Shout out to playing Souls games where you play them where they're kind of holding your hand a little bit, or like in a co-op setting, which is still fun. But then when you play it and you beat something by yourself, it gives you that reassurance, like, you know what, I can do this, right? Some of those games are like that. Definitely do not be afraid to play the From Software games. Play them. A lot of them are cheap. But anyways, let's move on. I do want to give you a couple minutes because this is going to go into some other things. Talk to me about the game that's on the screen. This is one of your latest footages that I pulled. This is Marvel Midnight Suns.
This actually ties perfect into one of my other topics.
Yeah, we're going to get to it. There's enough space for it too, so go ahead.
I had this game from PlayStation Extra, and I was like, when my extra was about to expire, it's like, do I bull rush this for like 3 days, or do I like go ahead and just buy it? So I ended up just buying it and getting the DLC as well because it was on sale. And I just beat it last week, finally. For the game, I loved it. It sucks that the game didn't do that well because people saw card system and was like, and kind of removed it. So
the trailer was a little misleading, though. Let's be honest.
That too.
It was looking more like Marvel Avengers in a way. Like you would have thought he was action adventure.
I like the card system. Basically, it's turn-based, strategic, move things around and like angle stuff and like really hit. And you have like so many points that you could use per turn and stuff like that. Where the card part comes into play is so you're not spamming the same move over and over. Right? You got to actually play it out your strategy. It's like you got this really strong attack that can like take out a crowd of enemies. And it's like, do I use this now when there's only 3 enemies here? Or do I hope that if the next round more enemies show up, they all bunch together and I use it then? Am I going to have other cards that I need to use? What's going to, like, you have to actually think and plan things out for this game, which I really like. You got environmental attacks that you can do as well. It's a nice balancing system. The attacks are pretty cool. The storyline was fun. And part of my other topic, I want Firaxis to do a Justice League game or like a DC game.
So I do have that here. So why do you say that? What makes you say that?
Besides it's just, being fun and everything like that, I honestly feel like this is the best way to be able to insert Superman in the game where you play as Superman and it's not just like, well, why would I not just be Superman? So in this game, like, for example, I end up unlocking the Hulk, right? So then you start thinking, well, why would I play as, like, Iron Man and stuff when I can just be the Hulk and, like, beat everything? So the issue is there's, like, a little meter in the corner for when I was battling, and it shows how many hero points you have. Certain cards you use add to your hero points. Certain cards use hero points. And the only way you gain them is by playing the cards that let you build them up, and then you lose them if you play the cards that take them away, right?
Okay.
Hulk, majority of his cards all use up hero points. So where I made the mistake is I took Hulk, me, and I think somebody else who ends up using hero points like on a mission, and then I realized there was several turns where I could barely do anything, or the Hulk just kind of had to stand there because I didn't have enough hero points to like spread around for everybody to do stuff. So I feel like it justifies, like, well, if you're going to use this strong character, make sure you bring support characters with them. Or maybe this isn't the mission to use that. Use somebody else instead. But I think it does a great job at balancing all of the Justice League members, or it can balance all of the Avengers and Midnight Suns in this game. And I think it would do a good job at balancing Justice League amongst, like, why you should use all of them. It had a cool, like, relationship, like, system where, you can build friendships with different people, and it tied directly into the last mission, and people get stronger if you build, like, relationships with them and, like, hangouts and stuff like that. But overall, yeah, I really enjoyed the game. If you haven't played it, I would say give it a chance. Like,
I think it was deeply on sale too, because it didn't do as good. So you should be able to find it relatively cheap. Is it all platforms, or is the Switch not in it? I don't know.
I think Switch is not in it, but it's
okay. Yeah, everything else, because I saw it really deeply, basically discounted. So I think you might be able to find this in a lot of areas for like around $20, maybe 25, but it should be relatively $20.
I was able to get the full version
for the
with
base
the
game.
DLC.
Yeah.
I was able to get the full version with the DLC for 20.
Yeah, I think So if it's not something that's on your radar right now, you might want to like put it on your list for your Black Friday purchase. I'm big on buying a bunch of stuff in bulk on Black Friday. Not sure if I'm going to do that too much this year. I've been buying little things every month now because of like GameStop. So I might not really do that. But I'm actually very curious now to talk about that, maybe for a split second. Are we even going to see Black Friday this year at the same level? Because last year, even with all the TVs and stuff, people was having this situation where they were moving the tags and like the prices were the same and they didn't do as good. I wonder if Black Friday might be seeing as slow ends, like people are not going to be taking care of the sales anymore.
So one of the issues too is that now that games are 70, they could be like, here you go on sale for 60, and don't nobody want to spend that. Two, you're right. Like now that people order online, they don't want to leave and go to the store and get trampled on all that other stuff or fight for things. No one's going to the stores anymore.
I think the trampling days are over because it was pretty light the last couple times I was out. But this past Black Friday, it just seemed like a regular day. Yeah. So you have your same little crowd who's looking to try to get like a 50-inch TV for like $300 or something. You have those people, but like as far as just stuff on on all the levels, I doubt it. But yeah, I'm interested to see it. But I guess we can probably move on. I don't know if you want to hear my answer when it comes to the Justice League game. The Justice League having a turn-based game or something, I'm fine by it. I just feel like in general, when it comes to superhero things, I think we kind of need to put it on pause for a little while. I think we're in a situation where it's to the point where for the media, some of these people are not heroes anymore, they're villains. They treated, what was the Harley Quinn and the rest of them girls, what was the name of their movie? Birds of Prey? How in the world did they become the villains outside of the film and everybody boycotted it? Like, if we get to that point where some of these films and stuff, you're villains, and we, like the gaming industry, we treated Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy as a villain in a way. It's like, if you get to that point,
it was because of Avengers. The Avengers game messed a lot of stuff up, and now Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, messed stuff up, and this is why I feel like we need good games. I don't think we necessarily need to break. There's this constant talk of like superhero fatigue, and I disagree. It's not superhero fatigue. It's just they keep making bad stuff, right? Like,
but here's my thing on it though.
Deadpool looks great. X-Men '97 that just finished yesterday, and that was a fantastic season. And
let's put it this way though. In-game was like one of the last really, really big ones that people relatively like, right? That was 2019, right? So from 2019 to 2024, how many iterations, just in the movie standpoint, of just superhero films did we get?
We gotta come out.
But it's not like it's one per year. If it was one per year, it would be like, okay. But it's like we're looking at 3 or 4 a year. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of a lot.
But like, you know what? Just don't go watch it. So here's how I feel about that. It's everybody was super into Endgame. Everybody. Yeah. Right? So finally, like the nerds, and like me being a superhero fan and like being a nerd and everything, like was eating good because everybody, like, you know, all of them are super popular and things like that. Now that Endgame's over, right? The story is over. People don't really care about these other people anymore. So then they're just not going to go watch it. That's fine. I don't need you there. That doesn't mean I don't want them being made. I'm enjoying the fact that
But that ain't it though. That clearly ain't it though.
I liked the Marvels. I liked Blue Beetle. I was okay with Aquaman and Lost Kingdom. It had its issues, but I was fine. Whatever. I'm interested to see what James Gunn is going to do. I like superhero media. I don't want to, like, for example, I don't care about war films, right? Yeah. Like some of these war films, I don't really care. That doesn't mean I feel like there's too many war films that they need to stop making them. Whoever's a fan of war films, watch it. More like history stuff. I'm never gonna see Oppenheimer. I don't care about that. I don't want to see that. But other people want to see it. Go ahead. Do you think it's your movie?
Yeah, but with the superhero films though, now like what we're saying with the energy around Assassin's Creed and stuff, like they're starting to compromise characters like a lot.
For most of them. But if you really look at some of the comments for some of the stuff,
yeah,
if you really deep dive, there's a lot of people who defend a lot of these movies, and they're the ones who enjoyed it. Like for me, I defend Blue Beetle a lot. Nobody went to go see that. I saw it. I went to the theaters.
Yeah, the movie kind of died on arrival, right?
And I really liked it. I thought it was fantastically done. I liked the Marvels. A lot of people use that one as a show of like woke and failure. I watched the movie. It wasn't woke, and I thought it was funny.
Yeah, they killed the Marvels. I think got killed hard. That one was a really hard one.
And where there is argument, where I can see some of those, like you're constantly using the women character, you're constantly using that and the others that are the popular ones. Okay, but I still personally enjoy the superhero stuff. So I always hate, like, I constantly keep hearing this, oh, there's superhero fatigue, and it just needs to stop. It's like, it can stop for you. Like, that's fine. I'm going to enjoy it, though.
They killed Wonder Woman, too, though, didn't they? I was kind of shocked at that one. They killed Wonder Woman, or they didn't give her a trilogy, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, because James Gunn is doing his own universe. Of course it wasn't going to get a trilogy.
Yeah. Well,
because to get a trilogy, that means it would have to establish the old universe still, and he's trying to replace pretty much everybody.
So is his thing a good to go, basically? Or are they still working with him?
They just showed Superman in his costume, David Cornsweet, or however you pronounce his name.
Mm-hmm.
It looked okay. It's no Henry Cavill, but
yeah,
we'll see what he can do.
I seen the pictures. There was like, if you order great value him or something. Yeah. That's silly stuff.
Yeah,
silly stuff. But I guess we can move on, and let me do the halfway point stuff right here. It's not a lot. It's just you just put some light on the free stuff. I'm pretty sure everybody likes to have free stuff. They're giving me some free food right now at my job. Actually, it's pretty cool. But we got some free stuff for the gamers. The gamers get to eat a little bit right now. And so Epic Games is what I like to highlight. Unofficial sponsor. Nobody's ever cut us a check. Hopefully one day we get a gaming code or something. But right now on Epic Games, one of the games, this is interesting, I think this is one of your games that they're giving away, is Dragon Age Inquisition. I believe I already had it on PlayStation, but now I'll have the PC version. I did already claim it, so you have till now, until May 23rd, as of this recording, to claim this game. They're back to doing their mystery thing again. So on the 23rd, they'll release another game that's mystery. This was the mystery game that I think I spoke on last week. So they showed it. And it's Dragon Age Inquisition. Still a relatively good game.
Great game.
It's not too old, but it's kind of not. It's not next gen technically.
But perfect time to jump in because they're still working on 4.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a cool game for people to try out. I think also some of the older ones was in my wish list. If anybody is familiar with like Dragon Age 1 and 2, I believe those games, if you really just want to keep going after you were done with this, you might be able to see that on the Xbox storefront and probably Steam storefront for relatively cheap. I know Xbox for sure because these were like Xbox 360 games, but I've never seen them go past $5. Like you could buy them both for probably under $5 for the whole thing. So you could definitely check that out. A couple of the highlights I wanted to mention that I did not mention before. Hades 2 for the PC side is in early access. If anybody was a huge Hades fan, you can probably go and check out early access Hades 2. But if you're still wanting the full thing, maybe you want to hold out a little bit longer. But at least on the PC side, for anybody, if they're wondering, it is in early access right now. Another game that I actually failed to mention last week, that I apologize on because this game doesn't get that much light at all. But there's a couple things that I heard about this. So this is Little Kitty Big City. It is actually available right now. From my understanding, which I didn't know before, it is on every platform except PlayStation. This, I think, is the first time I would say that. Typically, you would hear something, you would say everything but Xbox. This is actually not on PlayStation. Wow. But it is day one on Game Pass.
Their own it's competing cat games.
I guess. It's not really expensive at all. But it is day one. It was day one on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you have access to this. It was heavily promoted under Switch though, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, PC game, Xbox Game Pass, and the Switch is where you would find this. It's not going to be on PlayStation for right now. Other than that, I think another big game, if we want to talk Xbox for a second, Hellblade 2 will finally be releasing May 21st. Next week, this upcoming Tuesday, I believe. Is that Tuesday? Yeah, I think that's Tuesday. Yeah, so that's gonna finally come out. We get to see this game in all its glory. Gory, probably. But yeah, that was the game I was looking forward to. I probably see, now I'm in a crossroads. Do I play this on Xbox? Do I play this on PC? So for anybody out there, I'll give you a quick nugget for a video I'm going to make once this thing comes in the mail. I did buy the PC finally. So this is a very beefy boy, built around 4090, right? Which is the highest graphics card you can get on the market as of right now. The second this thing comes in the house, they're going to probably introduce the 5090 because that's just how the industry works. And that's just how the world works against me. But I get that this upcoming Monday. Hopefully they speed it up to this weekend. But I think it's supposed to be available Monday. I go pick it up. Very expensive thing. Whatever you think I paid for it, just add another 1,000 to it. But yeah, I did that. One other announcement, we're still we're looking forward to these June gaming shows that are going to happen in probably 2 to 3 weeks time from now. It is the World Series of Gaming, the WrestleMania of gaming, the playoffs of gaming, however you want to look at it, of gaming. Typically everybody shows up, whether the show is mediocre or is really good. Everybody typically shows up in the beginning of June, all at the exact same time for like 3 days, and they all just come out the woodworks. I think the official announcement right now is only the Xbox show, but typically the PC show follows the Xbox shows, I believe, 2 hours later, and then you're going to see most likely a Square Enix, Ubisoft, and a Capcom show somewhere in the middle of that. Nintendo's probably going to show up in the middle of that. I think everybody usually shows up except for PlayStation. PlayStation shows up in August. But yeah, we're going to try to cover that the best way we can, but bear with us because it's going to be a lot, and we're trying to shrink the show a little bit to keep it just a little time sensitive. So we're going to figure that out as time goes, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't think we're going to see too much, but we're going to see a nice little amount of some stuff. I do also think the rumor right now, I believe, is that for the ROG Ally, which is the handheld that I recommend mostly, that you might see either a prototype or an announcement for an upgraded part 2 to that. I think from what I was hearing, because I don't think I mentioned this before, the biggest thing is that they were saying it was going to have a 40% better battery life, which is the main thing that it was lacking in. Everything else was pretty much fine. However, be aware that they're projecting this thing to be more expensive than the other ones. Like, I think it's going to be in the $800 or $900 range. That's something just to be aware of. So they're correcting the errors, but they're also making you pay for it. Just be aware of that.
Do you think it's mean that they plan on potentially announcing a 2 when we're still waiting for a Switch 2 announcement?
I don't know. I think it's gonna be crazy though that they are gonna announce that either now or like around the time the Switch 2 does come out or does like get announced, because I think the story now is that it's not gonna get announced right now, but in March 2025. I think the next ROG Ally is going to come out in June sometime, because if I remember correctly, they did that last year. They announced it as an April Fool's joke, right? Or they announced it on April Fool's Day, and everybody thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. But then it was officially released in June, and I was one of the first people to get it. If they follow the same formula, it'll be a couple months off, but you'll be looking at getting this probably in September or October, because they'll definitely do it right before the holidays. And usually the biggest name games come out in September or October. So I would imagine they would want to position it around that time. So like presenting it during the June shows and then releasing it around that time in the fall would make sense, you know, if they want to get the most money out of it. As far as myself, I'm a little burnt out on the PC side, because I have two handhelds, this laptop, and now finally a big tower on the way. So I would skip out on that. I would just enjoy what I have and just be grateful, quote unquote. But for anybody else, depending on how you feel about if you have a budget or not, I don't know. I would probably say go with the last year model, because if the biggest issue was the battery, even though these are portable, I don't see a lot of people really being outside for that long somewhere playing this. I think a majority of people still gonna probably play this in the house. And I would say, just hook, because I do this anyway, like I just hook the cord to it, and then that kind of solves the problem. Other than that, it's still PC gaming, right? So the battery, even though they're saying 40% more, that to me sounds like you might have added maybe 2 hours. I don't think you're going to add more than that. So that price increase, like if you're talking going from $699 for your highest model to your highest model probably being $799 or $899, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like at most you're looking at an increase of $200 to $300 for probably the highest tier being the 300 and maybe the lowest tier. Yeah, it's not, I don't know, depending on what people are looking for, but this still is a very niche crowd at the end of the day. So I don't know, like I think a lot of people who have or is looking forward to this, it won't be their first PC. You know what I'm saying? If this is your first PC, I would honestly suggest that you get the first one, the Extreme, or the probably OLED model of the Steam Deck. I don't know if you would want to go and spend that much money, because it's kind of a lot when you really think about it. It's like if you're starting to get to the $1,000 range, you might want to consider just saving and going for a traditional tower, and then going for a low end model on the handheld side, one of the $400 models. Even though you might not like the performance with that, but you might get a better overall experience by having a low end model handheld and a high end model rig. You know, if it's your first time. But I can't tell people how to spend their money, but just be aware. You might see, I wouldn't be surprised if a whole nother handheld jumps into the market at that time. That would be the one time all eyes would be on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something else just appears, you know, like right now, if anybody's in the culture, the emulation side just released that new Game Boy that looks like the Game Boy SP, where they took the exact same model and just made it like a little flip, basically. Everything else is still the same. They did that. Just play however you want to play, I guess. One other thing I think I wanted to mention, apparently, so for Ubisoft, they have canceled their upcoming free-to-play shooter that was going to be Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland. That I guess they announced that's gone. No more of that. But yeah, The actual Game Boy, I'm looking at it now. The actual name of it is the Ambernic RG35XX, and then they just added the SP at the end. So it's the same name as the other ones. They know what they're doing. I'm surprised Nintendo has not found a way to attack them yet. But yeah, that's what they're doing. I don't think I got too many more announcements other than more information around Resident Evil 9. Apparently, Leon Kennedy might make a return again. And I believe the game, you probably will hear about it at this June show for Capcom's event. And they're looking to have this come out summer 2025. Those are the latest rumors on that. Yeah, I think we're probably done with that. Anything you want to add? Any news? Any rumors? Anything light games wise? What do you got for me? Anything?
No, I don't have any rumors game wise that I know of. Just waiting for things to release.
Yeah, I think.
I will say though, if I realize I did cut you off when you were trying to make a point about superhero stuff, because
what's up?
You know, I get a little cranky when I hear like superhero fatigue. I'm working on it, but I think you had a point of also saying that they're just kind of doing too much. And if you wanted to make that point, go ahead.
For my own thing is just like, if we get to the point where the superheroes are basically being treated like John Cena and you're showing up booing, then at that point, yeah, we need to take a break, because you can't really turn the character heel. Where everybody wanted to turn, like, people were willing to accept John Cena keep going in that spot at that time frame if he turned heel, right? And he didn't do it. But the thing about it is, what makes John Cena work now is that you don't see him that often. If he was still there every week from that point till now, oh my God. But because you don't see him that often, if he shows up at WrestleMania like he did, or if he shows up on one of the weeks or something, it's cool. It's a cool moment. But if you're talking like exact same formula, 5 moves of doom, it's like, oh my God. But with like with the superheroes, it was just like, okay, they've reached their peak of what they can do with them. So now it's like, well, let's explore other ways to look at these guys. And then that's when you get the stuff that people were looking at, like, why is this happening? And you have the situation where people went sideways at the She-Hulk. They went sideways at Eternals. They went sideways at the Birds of Prey.
Let's be real, Madam Web was horrible.
Yeah, and like Wonder Woman, even though they were redoing other things, like, you would have thought she was a high selling person, like if like Iron Man is on the Marvel side, right? Gail, is it Gail? Is that her name? Gwen? Gal. All right, almost. Yeah. But you would think because when it came to the DC side, it really was like the big three. It was Ben Affleck, Henry, and Gal, right? And then what put Aquaman in that category was because of how he was basically sexualized, let's be honest here. And then the rest of them were kind of there. And then you had like Ezra was like more what's going on outside of like the acting, but he wasn't used like not on the level of all the other ones. Like, you don't, it's almost like I'm gonna make a wrestling reference, like the Bloodline, where it's like some of them are like the Bloodline and the rest of them are like extra, but they're still related. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if that was a good analogy, but basically, like, some of them sell the franchise and the rest of them are just kind of there, but their own movies probably wouldn't have done as good. But yeah, that was just, I think if in general we get to the point where the trailer comes out and you've got maybe 30 days before the actual movie come out, but everybody's basically revolting, and it's like, we might want to take a break, because you're not even supposed to do that. It's one thing to show up and boo. You paid your money to show up and boo, but if you're not even showing up and stuff, and we're just like, we're in this boycott stage, it's like, why are we boycotting the superheroes? I think that's, you look up as to a superhero supposed to be somebody you look up to. It's supposed to be somebody who's like, that's a hero. I'm looking forward to that person being a hero, and I can't wait to see him. It's like people are saying, I've seen enough of you. Is what we were saying. And She-Hulk was relatively new, right? At least in that, like, well, see, She-Hulk the character has been around for a while, but like being shown in that light, She-Hulk was relatively new, to the point where if she was going to show up in an Avengers movie before, I don't think it's going to happen anymore, because it's just like, because of how everybody treated, or how everybody received that series. So yeah, just maybe if they have it where it's like, here's a film and it's once a year and it's what you really wanted to show, you really worked at it, it's probably fine. But like DC was far and few in between, right? But there was just so much coming from Marvel that it was just like even though DC wasn't coming out with as much, you were still kind of so overwhelmed on the superhero side. You know what I mean? It's like there's literally no room for a fresh new franchise to come up and thrive, like Bloodborne, not Bloodborne, Brightburn, and all of his characters, anti-hero versions and stuff. Like I don't even think that they would have gotten enough like chance to be accepted because of how much we've seen, you know. But yeah, we can move on from that. Resident Evil 2 on the screen, cool game. I want everybody to play it. I believe, if I remember correctly, that was the last footage I wanted to show, but we got a little bit more to go. Tell me real quick, Dead by Daylight, what we talking about with Dead by Daylight?
Dead by Daylight is partnering with Dungeons and Dragons. So the new killer is the Lich, Vecna, who's a famous villain now in Stranger Things, but they're using the real Dungeons and Dragons version of Vecna, one of the big villains. The gameplay looks so fun. As Vecna, he looks all creepy and everything. Should add some interesting stuff. And the new Survivor, Ashtray Yazar is an elf.
Okay.
Girl, and they're gonna have some like Dungeons and Dragons like influence. Like one of her abilities calls for a dice to be rolled, and depending on what you roll determines what happens.
Okay.
But it's cool that they've been partnering with all these other media franchises and everything to bring stuff in. Like this is to be, they're in my opinion, one of the best examples of live service, like where it can work, where it's not over monetizing its players, where it's constantly fun, constantly updating.
It has this place too, because Dead by Daylight is not all the way in your face the way Fortnite is. And the Fortnite it's not so much like with Fortnite is like you could play it or you don't, but it's like if I was to hop on Twitch, for example, it's like somebody's playing Dead by Daylight, but it's not like every, like before you get to who you want to see, they suggest you a bunch of people, and if it isn't a bunch of naked people in a hot tub, it's like a whole bunch of Fortnite players or Valorant, right? So it's cool that it is actually going as long as it is, because now like Nicolas Cage is like another character, and they've moved on to adding even more people, and you just have this roster now, right?
And something I also appreciate is the fact that when they introduce a new killer and a new survivor, you don't have to buy it if you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let's say I choose not to buy it because I don't want to play as those characters. That doesn't mean they'll never show up for me. So if someone else bought it and they're the assigned killer and that's who they're using, I'm gonna have to go against it anyways. So there isn't a chance where you just won't be able to see everything. You just get to pick and choose which ones you specifically want to play as. And you can earn these other point things to unlock certain abilities. And every once in a while, a random ability of somebody you maybe don't want to purchase, but their ability you want, will pop up in the thing that you can get still. So you're not like really forced to like just buy packs that you don't want solely for abilities. So it's just they didn't try and Predator like
Mm-hmm.
anything. So yeah, they've been doing great. But the new Dead by Daylight Dungeons and Dragons set.
That's what's up. I think the game is about 3 or 4 years old too now, right? What's interesting too is what we're seeing with the industry. I got PlayStation news in a second, but it's like the industry is not giving their games enough time, basically.
Real quick, it was 2016 when it came out.
Yeah, like where it's at right now versus where it was when it first came out in 2016. It's like, two different games as far as like the content, right? And a lot of the games are not like, for some of these publishers, the game wouldn't even last past 2016 because they wouldn't have gotten 2024 money in 2016, even though they don't have 2024 content in 2016. Hopefully everybody caught that. So yeah, hopefully the industry does a little bit better. Speaking on that, it does go into my last two topics. I can make them both brief because it was more like announcements more than they were topics. They could have gone in the other segment, but that's okay. As far as like industries not giving their games enough time to grow, my next topic is actually about Square Enix, and apparently Square Enix was not happy with the sales coming from Final Fantasy VII's Rebirth, and they are looking to what they call restructure their basically their employment over there. And so they're going to shrink just like everybody else. And I believe they're also blaming the PlayStation audience a little bit, which is hilarious. They don't want to make games exclusive to PlayStation going forward. And they're just basing it based on the sales. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was supposed to be a massive hit for them. I guess they're a little embarrassed about it because it did not do as good compared to, I guess, Sea of Thieves, because that was still a part of that whole Xbox games was topping the PlayStation charts at one point. This game was the one that was supposed to top the charts at that point, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but apparently it didn't. People who got it, they still enjoyed it, but it seems like a lot of other people didn't. And so Square Enix is saying they got to make some changes. I would not be surprised that by the time we get to the June shows, we're going to hear about layoffs from different studios within Square Enix. They're not giving this game a couple years, apparently. They want you to buy it immediately right now for $70. And if you don't, somebody's going to pay on the inside, unfortunately. It's what we've been saying for a long time. It's unfortunate, but we'll hear more and more about it later. Did you want to say anything about it before I move to the next one? All right. The next thing is actually kind of interesting. So PlayStation officially is announcing their new CEOs. And so that's plural because apparently we're going to have two. One of them is a name that we've heard before, which is Herman Hulse. We know who that is. The other guy, I'm going to try to make sure I said this correctly. Hideki Nishimo. Or Nishino. I said it wrong. I screwed his name up. But basically, we got one guy who's American, one guy who's Japanese, who's going to be the two CEOs of PlayStation from here on out. Huh?
I think you did a good job. Hideaki Nishino?
Yeah. So I think this kind of confirms, though. I think this confirms that they did fire Jim Ryan because they're future-proofing themselves. Like, if we got to take this guy out again, we got a backup ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Whoever screws up here, the other person's going to be the real CEO. I think they definitely, because neither one of these guys are like Jim Ryan's age. But it's like, why couldn't you have settled on one? It's like, I don't know, but yeah.
One's doing the platform business group and one's doing the studio business group.
Yeah, so one of them gonna be on eggshells within the next year. We're gonna have to figure out who that is, and that's gonna tell us like, all right, we gonna know the real story from the past on that. But yeah, so two CEOs, two minds are better than one. Don't people say that? Maybe, I feel like that's just going to have like some upper management arguments going on and on. That's where I think it's going to probably be.
Unless they figure out a way to divide the two equally. It's like, I run this, you run that. But we'll see how far that goes.
Hopefully.
I don't know. I just hope it doesn't get to a point where it's like, well, now we got to shut down these other studios because we got to pay for this CEO salary.
Yeah, I wonder. That's a good question. Like, how are they doing the salary? Are they splitting the salary, or do they get now we're paying double?
No, I think they should have to.
They have to split it. Maybe they could be like roommates. Like they just they share the same car. They like they carpool and they live in the same house. It's almost like the Wayans brothers or something. Like they could joint twins. They share the same wife. Man, I don't know. That might be taking it a little too far. But yeah, maybe. They don't have to run trains on you. Let me stop before we get this thing.
Twins don't share the same husband. They have separate husbands.
All right.
They just, I guess, could be. I don't know.
I want to be monetized at least one day. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. I think this August, if they have the show this August, or if they decide, because it's under new management, if they decide to show up in June. It will be officially like it's almost like with Triple H doing creative under wrestling and at WrestleMania, where it's like this is the start of the new era. Whenever their show is, it's like that's the start of their new era. So that's when we'll see all right, this is officially their PlayStation. Honestly, I don't think that's going to change much from what we've seen so far. Anything that's getting ready to be ported is probably still going to be ported. Like I think. Was it Last of Us 2 or somebody they was talking? No, it was Ghost of Tsushima, right? Ghost of Tsushima is supposed to be ported and it's supposed to need a PlayStation PSN login.
Legends to play the multiplayer.
Yeah, so I think that decision still stands. I think you're still looking at everything still going where they were going to go anyway. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to see from this new management, man? What do you want to see?
I want better for the developers. I want them to force them to design a game that if the first one doesn't do well, that's okay. We're going to get a sequel. Like the older days. I want two CEOs who look for the long term, not the short term monetization.
Yeah, I think I'm
asking for too much, but that's what I want.
The long-term play is what they should be going for. It's just the question would be, well, how long? Maybe. I just think it's unrealistic to expect for some of the studios, and we talked about this with Xbox last week, where you're not going to do Fortnite money. You're not going to do GTA money. I think even with Helldivers 2, just recently, it was a success, but it did not bring in no Fortnite money. It didn't bring in Call of Duty money. It didn't bring in Grand Theft Auto money, right? It's a success for what it is, but it's like it's going to have its limits. And I think they should understand that they got to read the room with some of their games. It's like some of y'all got to know, like, you created something that's not going to be as good as like what's on the screen right now, right? It's like some games, like you kind of would just know. It's like you got to be able to understand, like, you can't expect them to come out the gate and just like completely dethrone a whole nother game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It could just be good, but like what game did Helldivers 2 dethrone? You know what I'm saying? It brought itself into the market, but it didn't take nothing out. Even Power World didn't dethrone Pokemon. We were saying that, just to screw a Nintendo because it was funny. But it didn't dethrone them. It gave them a run for their money. It's like, hey, we're here as competition, but it didn't take them off the throne. I can admit that after this much time. It's just, like, some of them just have to understand that, like, some games will be hot for the moment or it'll do good later on, but that doesn't mean to just destroy the studios overnight, Maybe the argument would be, more towards try to save as many of you people as you can. But we'll see. It's two people. But All right, boss fight is over on screen. I think we're done with this footage. I guess we can like end it. Any last words?
Stay hydrated and hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay hydrated for sure. We're moving closer and closer towards the June shows, and we will report back along the way. Other than that, like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for your viewership. I will catch you next week. Peace.